Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each week we'll give you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I'm Benedikt and I'm feeling excited.
And I'm Benedicte. Today is February 6th. This is episode number 195. And I'm feeling a little anxious because people might just jump into this recording with me and I'll be gone. But how are you feeling, Brian? Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. It is fun to be back. I'm Brian, and I am feeling nostalgic.
Good one.
Yes, nice.
So this is so fun. It's so good to see y'all. And we've just been cracking up in the green room here, waiting to go live. We've been laughing and smiling nonstop. It's fun to be back.
I have a suspicion that most of the listeners know you from back in the day, but those who don't, so Brian used to be, Brian and I started the show years ago. And,
in the year 1914, I think it was.
1914, something like that. And we managed to record an episode every other year. And now I think the last time you were on was in March 2022. So it's almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
And we are super excited that you agreed to come back on and share what you've been up to lately.
Super, super great to be back. That is nuts. I didn't realize it had been 2 years. I guess we've chatted, we've chatted a few times. And maybe I'm just used to whenever we talk, it's being recorded and then put on a podcast somewhere.
But honestly, it's not.
That's the only way we talk, right? Like, why talk if it's not recorded?
Yes. If it's not recorded, what's the point?
When we all get these AI pins that can record nonstop, there's no point to sit down and record a podcast. You can just take snippets of your daily life and just put it out there as a podcast. Sure. Any conversation you have with anybody,
just live stream everything all the time.
All the time.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
No, nothing will go wrong. Let's see. Thanks for looking up the notes on the last time we did chat. So that was almost 2 years ago. I was still at GitLab. It feels like an entirely different life ago.
Yeah. So
GitLab,
short summary.
The board games.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You were. I guess you just started at GitLab back then, even.
Yes.
You had recently won the competition, the board game competition, and were in conversations with the publisher about releasing it and stuff like that. And you were winding down JTBD app and JTBD consulting work.
Yes.
That's a short summary.
Yeah. We talked in March of 22. So it was October or November of 21 when I first started at GitLab. And in March, 4 months afterwards, I was probably still like, yeah, this is awesome. This will totally work. And I would say things quickly things began to unravel. It's kind of just even a conversation inside the company as well, that the old school GitLabbers are bummed that the old GitLab doesn't really exist anymore, and it's a public company. Legal's got to be involved in everything. The transparency value has to be, heavily, tampered down for legal purposes, et cetera, et cetera. And to their credit, they went public, they've grown. I'm not sure how many people they have now. But when I was there, it was 1,200 or 1,400. And so, I think a lot of the
people.
Yeah. And 100% remote, no office anywhere. Kudos, credit, amazing for all of those accomplishments. And it is just absolutely not a startup. And so just the degree of process and slowness and everything, it just is not my best. Not my best situation. Anyway, when layoffs came around, basically 1 year after we had that conversation, not quite a year, layoffs came around and they just cut out the entire product operations department. And I was pissed about it for about an hour, and then, screw them. Like they're like, I know what to do next. I can figure out how to make this work, for me. And so I just hopped back into consulting and have been doing that for, coming up on a year. So it's, I mean, it is, gosh, there's so many things I want to say about tech layoffs and being laid off. The main one being, like, anyone who has experienced a layoff or anyone who's currently, like, still in the throes of it, man, you just have to truly believe that it is not personal. It has nothing to do with you or your skill set. Don't let any of that get to you. The number of, like, people I worked directly with at GitLab, who reached out and were just like, "Oh, man, that sucks. Hey, if there's anything I can do, let me know." Da 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 da. It which I think is the case in most cases. Like, just don't let it get to you, and keep your head up, stay positive, and just do the next right thing. Like, it's because it's freaking crazy out there right now. Yeah.
There's been a lot of layoffs over the last year. It felt like in second wave right before Christmas.
Last 2 years. I mean, there were less than 20. Is that true? Like, I feel like it was the last half of 22 and the first half of 23 where the bar graph really peaks and it's starting to slow down. But they're still coming. I mean, it's wild.
We're seeing it in Oslo right now, and because where we see it is in consultancy, or what we call consultancy, but it's basically contracting agencies. Or like agencies, with like, what is it called? Like augment, like heads for hire, like staff augmentation. It's the American word. Yeah. Staff augmentation. And I've seen that a lot of the big ones and even the smaller ones are like, they're, because you can't really just lay off people in Norway, but they are like, put to pasture. I'm just kidding. What's the word? Permittert.
Put to pasture is an idiom. Wait, say what's the word?
Permittert. It means that they don't have a job, but it's temporary. So they're like temporary laid off, and then like the government steps in and like covers their salary for a while, and you're allowed to do that. I don't really know about the legalities, but like you can do that for a while. And then you'll either have to bring them back or do a layoff. But in Norway, if you do layoffs, you're not allowed to hire again for, I think it's a year or two after the layoff. You can hire for the same positions. So that's why they do this like in between thing. Yeah. And I just had a conversation with somebody that the company that I started out at all those years ago, they just did 30% that are now like on vacation.
What positions do you know?
So like those are mostly all developers.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And it started, so that's like, you might not know this, but I was working for a bank like part-time the last year. Mm-hmm. So they got rid of almost all their contractors right before Christmas. Oh. And then now we're seeing the ripple effects in the agencies, kind of seeing that the contracts aren't being renewed that they might have thought were like, a certain thing, because they're like, the big bank is almost like the government, right? And other kinds of organizations like that. So interesting times.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, the other thing is like, so I was pissed off for about an hour, wrote about it on LinkedIn. And like
the new emotional social media.
Yes, like quick processing, and screw it. Like I know how to be self-employed. We'll just go and make some money now. And let's see, like March, April, May, June, July, August were just boom, 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 project. It's like, okay, cool. This is great. This is totally working. And y'all, it's not as if it was like a slow decline in slowdown in consulting projects and inbound leads. It was just like a full on cliff. Like they were there and then they weren't. And so like talking to other consulting people, and some other startup folks who are still in my network, like the vibe is definitely where it's now rippling out to, yeah, look, we just laid off a bunch of people. We're not going to hire an outside consultant for like research work. Like, are you crazy? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they're still out there. Like I have a couple of leads that are like developing, but just the degree and the frequency, even though consulting is always lumpy, like it's been long enough that, okay, yeah, even that is really slowing down. And so, yeah, so that's why I've been pivoting pretty hard to, okay, let's move away from this like super high touch, white glove experience, high ticket, low volume approach. I'll run all your interviews for you, talk to your CEO, deliver you this report, et cetera, trying now to position things of, hey, startup team, you're probably sitting on a ton of research, right? That you haven't done anything with in a long time. Give me access to that, and in 3 days I'll have like a full-on report for you, which I can do with like these AI tools that I've been building, at a fraction of the cost, but I can do, I could do 2 a day easily. So like that's what I'm trying to pivot over to now, is more of an automated service and less of like a high touch consulting offer. So we'll see how that goes.
But is that products that you are imagining just using yourself to give that more automated service or productized service, or are these products that you can also give the customers access to?
Yeah, every tool that I'm building that I like run in my local environment is something that I can put into JobLens. So that's so previously I was working on
JobLens.
JTBD.app, which is a jobs to be done app, and it was fully focused around like running surveys, running quantitative surveys. And at the beginning of last year, I had already been using AI a ton at GitLab, in all sorts of work. And so when the layoff came, I was like, okay, cool. Like, we'll get back into consulting. And I was running a project and I was like, you know what? I'm really curious, like how all these insights and like all this stuff that I've got after 12 interviews, what if I had just started in ChatGPT with what I knew about the customer and what's the overlap? And even in 3.5, the overlap was like 60-70%, which is incredible. Given that you get there in 3 minutes compared to several weeks. And now with GPT-4, it's even better. My prompting skills are, 3 times better. And you can build agents that talk back and forth to each other. So it's not just you like multi-shotting the prompt. Like you get a return from it, hand it over to a different agent who then hands it back and back. Until like you're at the point where, yeah, okay, that is an above average researcher that does not cost you $15,000, and you can get good enough results to take action in 5 minutes. Now,
I'm just gonna go and like put myself to bed and take the covers over my head and just like figure out what I'm gonna do with my life at this point.
Well, I'm still like processing all of it, because like the thing that's also true, every single time it misses something. I can guarantee you, it always misses something. And within 20 minutes of a follow-up interview with a real person, there's a new insight. Cool. Like, agreed. And this is what I see is people who are really digging in on, you can't use synthetic users to do research. This is not like, you can't replace the human touch, et cetera, et cetera. Like, this is where they're super digging in, because that is true. What's also true is for people who are not currently doing research, for non-consumers, because they don't have the expertise or they don't have the budget, this is infinitely better. And
doing something is better than doing nothing.
It's better than, yeah.
Yes, totally. And because it's not like 30% good enough, and you've got to be careful not to go off in a total wrong direction. That's just not the case. Benedict, I feel like it's like no code tools, like people who don't have expertise in development and don't have the budget to hire an engineer can at least, okay, let's just patch together these 3 tools and test the idea. You will eventually need to write code. You will have to write production quality, secure code that does a lot of incredible things eventually. But for someone who has an idea and wants to like get it off of the ground, happens like that now. And I just feel like it's the same with research.
I think even that has changed though, because I can see through our set as customers that people are patching together these no-code tools and will not need to go any further for like their companies or like their business ideas. I mean, if you're going to create user lists, like at some point you'll need code. Like you can patch together something that sends emails, but for that type of scale, you will need to bring in code. But like with the one company I was talking to this week, it's like they're never going to need the type of scale that tech talks about.
Okay.
Like their customer base is based onto something physical that they need to go and acquire a physical thing to get another customer.
Yeah.
So at this point, there are 300 customers. And like when I was like, and they were like, we need it to scale. And I was like, but what are we talking about? Like in 5 years, like if you've scaled, like what are we talking about? And they were like, well, in 3 years, like we're hoping for 900 customers. Like this is like if you go to the developer and ask for scale, they are going to build something heavily over-engineered if your scale is 900 customers. Like I could go in and manually fix your database with 900 customers, just update every freaking row manually. Like, like the need is just so much lower than like what we as like more tech people kind of like think about.
Yes.
So like there's a lot of businesses that don't even ever want it, that will never ever really need a lot of custom code. So maybe like in your case too, like maybe there are companies that will never really need to go out and do anything more than that synthetic thing that you're talking about, because their business case just doesn't, there's not a case, or it doesn't make sense like business wise or like money wise.
Yeah. I could certainly see that. I like the analogy holds. Like we'll see. And the more that like the traditional, agencies and folks like, and like career long UX researchers, the more they tend to that community tends to dig in, like that just makes me feel a little bit more like, oh yeah, it's because I think potentially they see it as well.
They just don't want it to be reality.
At large, and that makes complete sense. But I also think that doesn't mean that research is going away or that researchers are going away. It just means that the job is going to be completely different in a few years, in the same way that, a salesperson before the internet and after the internet, like the job, like salespeople still exist, but the job is fundamentally different in so many ways. tactically different, strategically the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the same will be true for designers and writers and engineers and researchers after AI.
But what I'm wondering is like, where will these? Because what you're saying is like, okay, you can get the AI to do a lot of the basic, like they're a decent researcher, but they're not like a really good researcher. Where will the people we need at the senior level get their experience? Like, if they can never be junior researchers or like junior developers, because like that can be, junior dev stuff can be done by no code tools, and junior researching can be done by AI.
Yeah.
Like, how will people kind of gain the skill level that we need to have if they
I think you're
I don't know.
I mean, I think you're good. Yeah, go ahead, Benedict.
I think it's just going to like be better at the junior stuff, right? I mean, what you're saying assumes that the senior level requires different knowledge, like that's based on the old ways, whereas like the senior levels based on AI or whatever other technology just might be something different, right? I mean, I remember people used to say that like you have to be extra good at math and like math theory and stuff like that to become a programmer, or even you have to really know how to work with memory and like allocate and reference and whatnot. And honestly, like in my day to day, for the most part, it's not an issue, right? So I guess it's another layer of abstraction, and you gain seniority on that different layer. And I mean, at some point, you probably start peeling off like one layer and like dig down and maybe read a book or two. But I guess it's just going to be on a different, like as Brian said, like it's going to be on a different level, or just like different tactics, I guess.
Yeah, and probably fewer people. At least that's what my feeling is here for developers, that most of the places are looking for a few, what they're looking for right now in Oslo, at least, is like a few seniors instead of like a bunch of juniors. Like usually the model was like getting in like a lot of juniors and then like one or two seniors, and like that was the team. But now they're more like, well, with the tools we have, you could probably get the same job done with like two seniors alone. So then there will be less of the pyramid. Like most consultancy work, like McKinsey, work on like that model where you have like a lot of minions and then they kind of lose their job at some point because they don't progress up to the top of the like McKinsey pyramid. So maybe we'll just like need less down here, and like more people like will go all the way, instead of just having like so many people. Because I think like the juniors in McKinsey are basically researchers. Like they do all of the like hands-on work that I guess that could be replaced, and they like have to make their dues, otherwise they're not allowed to move up the pyramid in
food
McKinsey.
Food
chain, yeah.
I mean, who knows what it'll look like?
We don't have to go down this path. It was just me. I've been trying to ignore it.
It makes sense to me that teams will be smaller, but then that would, ideally that means that there are more companies with teams. So more companies who have smaller teams, because you can do more with less. And then over however many, over a decade of a cycle, that will get integrated, and teams will, companies will build back up, because things that we can't envision or imagine right now are gonna develop. But I think it'll change everything.
So back to JobLens, or jobs to be done.
Yes. So
after my little tangent on, do we even have the right to exist anymore?
one of my favorite topics right now. So basically, yes, any tools that I am building to do that consulting work, I can and do integrate into JobLens, because the idea would be, okay, cool. You don't even want to hire me for, $2,000 to do this work. Okay, cool. For, $50 a month, you can sign up for JobLens and do that with less, specificity, et cetera, but it will be in there, or it already is in there. So you can do research from the ground up. You can upload transcripts, and it'll extract all these insights for you, et cetera, et cetera. So that's basically what I'm trying to go to, is lower ticket, higher volume service for research that already exists, and then through that building the functionality into JobLens. So,
but can I do it all through JobLens? Like do a survey through JobLens and then go through the other
can't
tools?
Can't do a survey yet. Like within JobLens, like that would, not trying to make an assumption, but to get the entire workflow done, to get the whole job done, it would eventually need for the user to be able to say, this job performer, these 20 desired outcome statements, create a survey that then I can use user list to just email all of my people to go take this, go to this URL, take this survey, and boom, by the end of the week, you've done an entire jobs to be done research project for $50. Like, that's insane.
But that's where you want to go.
Yeah. Jobs to be done is not big enough. It will eventually need to be a user research project in a week. But right now that's the vision.
Could you get like an AI agent to interview the user?
There are some that exist, and I right now they're not quite there. Like I have absolutely zero doubt. I will put my life savings on this. That will happen, and it'll probably happen within like a year and a half, where yes, you could have an AI agent conduct an interview that is in like the top 5% of any human you could ever hire to do that work. Yes, that will happen, and it'll happen quick.
And then you won't have the problem that I have, that I just start talking in a user interview. Because I get excited. And then like the user interview process is kind of lost.
It becomes polluted by it becomes polluted by your bias, or et cetera, and that's what makes professional researchers really good. And you can instruct and train a model to follow that same behavior. Like, it's not impossible.
But a step on the way, because I have some cousins who are doing some AI stuff, because that's what younger cousins do these days. I think they're working on like sales enabling. So while I'm trying to sell somebody on the phone, the whatever they're like making will make sure that you're hitting the points. So it's listening in, and then it's like highlighting what you haven't said or where you should go next. It's like it's helping you along the way. So I could see like between what we were talking about and where we're at now, like you could make something like that for me, where it says just like shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, and then like now talk. And then like prompt me with my next like possible 3 questions, because I've managed to actually not talk in some of these interviews, but I have a hard time. Like you have that sheet and it's like, which question should I like put in now? I like have a sheet in front of me and I'm like, and then I get so like hung up on that I forget to listen. But if I could have like a little bit of help next to the interview, like with the questions that I want to hit, and then they get kind of marked as I hit them, and then kind of, or maybe the transcription is then connected to those things I wanted to hit, and also then have that, like, I think Michelle Deploy Empathy has that like reaching for the door question, and then you're supposed to shut up for like a very uncomfortable amount of time. There could be a little timer that's like
that's really interesting. You would rather have a guide who's like listening in, like an AI agent who's listening in and giving you recommendations, rather than an AI agent to just run the interview for you?
I mean, I would love the last part, but like if that is not possible within the next year and a half, then
I feel like it will be that will be possible in about the amount of time it takes to do the first thing that you're asking for really, really well. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, maybe. But also,
I mean, I'm being a little hyperbolic, but also, but I do mean that.
I think there could be a case for both, because there is a little bit about that human touch. Even, like if I was going to be interviewed, I would rather be interviewed by the person making the thing than an AI agent. But if you could then like superpower me to actually not suck at these interviews, then that would be very helpful. And it's also a case for it being marketing. Michelle makes that in the book as well, like in Deploy Empathy, like talking to your users, like they get more engaged in your product. So it's like a good way to also like get a little bit of that marketing effect, which I don't think an AI bot would.
No, I mean, I think like at scale, it will be mostly AI bots running the interviews. But if for smaller companies, like, it makes sense that you would rather hire a guide, and your users would rather speak to a guide, especially if you're doing the whole "hey, we're a small team" thing. Thanks for signing up. Bots. Like, hey, I'm Brian. Oh, by the way, will you talk to Marvin? Over here, because I don't have to. Like, that's not gonna fly. That's a good point. That's a really great point.
Yeah. Let me know when you have it. I'll start running user interviews again.
Oh man, that is really fascinating. Okay.
So where are you at with JobLens? JobLens at the moment. So it's up and running. You've got some paying customers.
It's up and running, paying customers, like hovering right around like the 500 MRR. Like as soon as I'm like, okay, one more monthly, then someone will churn out. It's just like it's right there. So but I'm still not doing a ton of like active marketing for it. Like people discover it either shockingly through SEO, like if you search for jobs to be done and AI, JobLens is up there, or just passively through LinkedIn. Like I comment or post all the time about either jobs to be done or AI, or jobs to be done plus AI, and then people find it through my profile. So I'm not actively marketing it or promoting it just yet. It's got, it's still got a little ways to go. Like it's functional. Like you can get, I have people who are using it like crazy. And then some users who sign up, log in once or twice, and then, cancel. So like figuring out connecting that, the gap in there of, okay, why is this person so activated? What's all the value they're getting out of it that this person just isn't seeing yet? So trying to get people on the phone with me, to do the user research and to do the customer research. That's
do you find it harder to do it for yourself than for clients?
Yes. Yes.
So it's not just because we're not trained. It's because we're doing it for our own products.
Yeah, but that's a huge value in hiring an outside person, is that they don't have any bias. They don't have like, oh, well, we tried that before type of stuff, or like baked in assumptions and an idea. That's why it's super valuable to hire somebody outside. But so it's much harder to do that for myself. And it just gets so meta too when you're doing a jobs to be done interview about the jobs to be done process, because the person you're interviewing is also highly biased, because they're
like jobs to be done people.
You are hiring you're interviewing a jobs to be done practitioner about they're like, well, and start talking like in the terms, and you're just like, okay, yeah, this is getting we're in the third act of Inception right now. So
and
anyway, but it's coming along. It's coming along.
Probably also becomes hard to tell if they're like, because they know the process. You have to still make sure that they're actually telling what they're actually doing, not what they're supposed to do. Right. And then they end up reviewing you and like, you're doing this entirely wrong. Yeah. You shouldn't ask the question like this.
You didn't ask me this question, so I'll ask and answer.
Yeah. I had one of those, and it was just really, really funny. I mean, at the end, it really is just like, okay, what is the outcome that they're looking for, and so just trying to get to that. But that's where it is. I mean, development is kind of, like going along slow and steady, and because I'll develop these tools for a project, or to share some free resource on LinkedIn for marketing. And like, okay, cool, that's a feature, that's totally something I can build in. And so it's everything, like those things are synergizing really, really well. It's just that consulting isn't bringing in as much as it needs to in order for me to feel like fully focused on it. So that's like where I'm trying to figure out, okay, do I try to pitch to a startup studio or, yeah, anyway, so that's where it's all at.
Well, listen, I got excited about AI now. First time I've been a little bit like positively excited about AI.
Yeah. I mean, there was this book, it's called The Age of Spiritual Machines by Ray Kurzweil, who now is famous. Like he's like the AI guy at Google or Alphabet or whatever they're called. And when I was like 19 years old, this band, Our Lady Peace, Canadian band, they had like a couple of like radio hits, but they were a legitimately good band. They had an album called The Age of Spiritual Machines. And I was like, what's this about? And so it was Ray Kurzweil's book. They came out in like 98, 99. And the whole thing is about AI and about how, as we make machines become more like us, we will also become more like the machines until eventually, there's a new species on Earth and they're indiscernible from blah, blah, blah. And like, it scared the hell out of me. It sounded so dystopian and terrible. And like, my wife will tell you, like, from, our mid 20s and on, I've always just been saying they're coming, like, just get ready. Like it's happening. Everything he says in this book, I mean, to a degree, like it's been debunked in a number of ways, but in some important ways, he's fully true. It's fully right. And so I think I've also just had like a long time to be thinking about when we create a new species, like when we are now on planet Earth with another, like a species that's as intelligent or more intelligent than us, what's that going to be like? And I honestly believe it's happening, and it's okay. It's gonna be okay.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm just becoming, I think we have that like as a snippet somewhere where I'm like, I'm becoming more and more of like a Luddite. I'm like, everything in my house with like buttons that I can like move. Like I don't want anything to not work because I don't have internet or like battery power. But I guess I am connected to the electricity. So I live in a city. At some point, I'll just become one of those preppers and move into the woods and be like, no, I'm not that bad. I think it's more my like Ludditism or whatever we want to call it is more about like everyday life, where I was just like, I don't want to debug my light switch. I just want it to work.
Thank you. Gosh, right.
And I don't want an AI to like guess if I'm in the room or not. Like I might be in the room and I want to turn it off. Like there are like situations where at least I want to override things. But then on the other hand, like I do see even in my I turn on Copilot and stuff like that, and you see like it being like a tool that helps you along and somebody you can ID generate with, the few times I go into ChatGPT, it's mostly just like, kick around an idea or like get some different phrasings or that kind of stuff. And I think, it's as a tool, it's interesting, but I haven't felt that like enlightened, like we're some like where it's like, this will, like you're saying, like species, like this will like solve everything. And like, I don't feel that in any way.
I'm not saying it's going to solve anything.
Okay, good.
It's going to be very, very different. And like the fundamental challenge of the human condition is going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that like the tools around us they're changing. They're going to change.
And I think people should talk about it more as a tool and not, I feel, but this always happens in Norway. Like when I was around when like app was the thing, like every company wanted an app, and it's like, what are you going to use the app for? Like, what is the outcome you're looking for? Which usually was, I want to brag to my friend at the golf course. Like, if you got them to the point where they would admit why they wanted an app, that was what they wanted. Like, because then they would be cooler than the other CEO that had an app. And at this moment in Oslo, I feel like AI is there where every company wants to brag about doing something AI without like like that hammer looking for the problem. So I'm not like, I can't get excited about it because like, what are you trying to solve? And that's why I think I got excited when you talked about it, because it's like, well, this is what I'm trying to solve, and AI can help us 70% there, and then we need a human component, or like it can help smaller. Because you have it the right way around, and it's like, oh, this is interesting. But the conversation that I'm hearing was just like, we need AI. I'm like, and then usually what they need is just like a good old fashioned like algorithm with like process, maybe 3 if else. Like that's what they are actually asking for, but like how they're asking for it is like, we need some AI. It's like, no, you don't.
I could see that.
But fun fact, the Norwegian National Gallery just launched their semantic search through OpenAI, so that you can search all of the collection using natural language, which I think is kind of cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is very, very cool.
And it's because it's open. Because somebody asked, like, well, what about, do you want to send all of the collection to OpenAI? And they were like, the service we're using is not supposed to train on our data, but we're quite certain they already scraped our data. Because when they were like testing it, they were like, okay, they already have this collection because it's in an open database. So of course it's already been chucked in there. So, but I like the way the guy framed it. Like their senior architect, he was like, they already got it. So why not?
Why not pay them so we can access our own data?
Exactly. No, but we are, at least in Norway, there has been we've come a long way the last 10 years about whatever is paid for by kind of the government should be open. So, all of the travel data is collected, at least is centralized, and then services are created that small travel companies around the country can then use, and they don't have to like rebuild that themselves. Cool. All of the mapped geo data was like opened a couple of years ago. The National Gallery is all kind of open in a database that anybody can like use. So
that's reasonable, logical governance. What's that feel like as an American? What's it feel like to have?
Let's not go down that route.
Reasonable governance.
Let's not go down that route, but it feels okay. Well, there's
that is
bad stuff going on right now.
Yeah, of course. So, yes.
So, with our government, so let's just stay there, stay in the tech sphere. But I do enjoy that they've opened a lot of these APIs. I think that is really good, and we're starting to see some benefits from it.
Yeah, that's nice. Yep. One thing I wanted to ask about is how's your game going? Like, how's Backpack doing?
Yeah.
Are you using AI to create it? Sorry, I'm gonna shut up.
The last time we talked, we had won that contest. We were, I think I said, in talks with the board game publishing company, but slow. They dragged us on for a while, ended up just giving us the prize money and didn't publish the game. Which at the time was it was like really disappointing. It was like a big bummer. The more and more that we've continued to watch that particular publishing company, like that was actually, I mean, on the one hand, it was a gift because they're like, they don't have a very good reputation in terms of like customer service and taking care of their designers and stuff. But on the other, like we haven't published the game publicly. Like Graham and I each have a really nice printed copy for ourselves. That like anytime we play it, we're like, oh yeah, that actually needs to be tweaked just a little bit. Like, so there's still stuff in it that needs to be better or that needs work. But we basically got to the point where let's do a revision. Let's get some artwork. We each have a really nice version of it on our board game shelves, and like that's good enough for right now. We did use Midjourney for all of the artwork, which is a insanely hot topic in board game, and I mean I in a lot of places, but it's particularly contentious in the board game community right now as to whether or not even like amateur unpublished designers should even be supporting it. So but it sure makes our copy look really, really nice. So that's where that's at.
2024 we should all get together and play your game.
That would be amazing. Because that would probably
yeah.
mean that I would be in Europe, which I am always game for.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Let's remain in touch on that.
If you get yourself to Europe, we'll get
I could come to
ourselves
MicroConf Europe.
where you are at.
Yeah. Yeah. We were working on another Graham and I were working on another game about like bee colonies that we also got to a really good place. And we each have a copy of that. Like that's kind of where the where that is at, is that I've got a handful of things that I tinker on, but not putting any like, yeah, just not putting any pressure on myself to get it, like to actually get it published. That would be really, really cool. But the bottom line is that like, I mean, you get it published and maybe you make like all time like $2,800. Like they're it's a lot like book publishing, where J.K. Rowling makes $100 billion and some people make a little bit less than that, and then almost nobody else makes real money. So it's not at all like, oh, hey, if we want to make this like a profession, like if this is our vocation, we got to go for it. Like you're just playing the lottery. So that cannot be the motivation. So the motivation is to design games, play games, and have fun. And so that's what I'm still doing. Yeah.
That's awesome, though. Like, I mean, it sounds at least like you got the fun part covered, right? Like,
100% of the fun part. Yeah,
that's 100% of the fun part, and then to get it published, there's probably another 90%, but it's maybe 10% of the fun.
Yeah, because realistically, like the thing that whenever we do sort of, okay, do we want to go for it, would be Kickstarter, and that's a part-time job, and and some of them are just horror stories. Some of them are amazing, and it ends up creating a new, publishing company. But we're both just like, I'm like, do you have time for another part-time job right now? No. Cool. Then why would we do that to ourselves? Like, let's hold off.
Yeah.
I think there is a room, and we need to get more comfortable with that with our AI overlords, to just have hobbies. Like, what are we going to do with our time?
Yes.
And just having a hobby and not monetize it is.
Yeah.
And I find that hard because a lot of my hobbies is things that are very close to what I do for money. Like if you code something fun, like, oh, it should, it's business right away. But like learning to say that, no, this is a hobby project. Like this is for fun, for relaxation, for, those artistic needs that you might have.
Yes.
And just let it be a hobby. Like,
I think that is such a good observation and like a good thing to put out there. Like even in this conversation, like there's a part of me that feels some unspoken pressure to talk, to
do
position
something.
this thing as some kind of, it's like, is it some kind of success, or what'd you do with it? Or like, what was you know what? The end result is that it's in a cool looking box on my board game shelf. That's the end of the story,
But,
and we are also, just because we're entrepreneurial minded and, that's part of it. And it's also like the water we swim in, that everything has to be monetized and everything has to be productive and for some kind of reason rather than just,
And I have a lot of friends who knit. I'm just going to say, because I have a lot of friends who knit, and that is never a viable business. It's so expensive. Like the yarn is so expensive. Like if you knit something and you hand knit something and you sell it, like if you can get your material costs back, you're lucky. And they still do it because it's a hobby that they get a lot of joy out of. And some of them get to wear stuff that they've made in the same way that you are playing the board game that you made. And for a while, people were like, even in those circles, were like, well, you should start selling. But like they very quickly realized that like that's not
it just
feasible compared to like your normal job where you're like making like real money and not just like losing money. So I try to like think about my knitting friends when I'm like, well, this should make money because I'm spending time on it, or I'm putting resources, like I'm maybe even buying a service for it, so I should therefore make money. It's like, well, knitters lose a lot of money. Like any craft person loses, in quotes, for the people who are not watching this, in quotes. But that's a hobby. And if you go horseback riding, nobody will tell you that you're like losing money when you're like buying stuff for your horse. But it's just because that is like so far away from being something you can monetize. Like nobody expects you to become like a show jumper if you start horseback riding at 40. Like that's just not.
It's just not even.
What? Why not?
Not even on the radar.
Or like me that I started ballet. Like nobody's going to be like, how are you going to monetize it? Are you going to start performing on stage? It's just so far.
We have lost her. We lost her.
No, it's going downhill from here. Sure.
Okay. Yep. You were saying we were on time.
We're on time? What? We are? I don't know.
I think like, Ryan was like trying to say like it's.
I mean, I'm good. I don't know like how you guys have been running these things. So.
Still thinking about.
This is for sure one of the longer episodes lately, but I don't mind. I feel like it's been good.
Yeah.
So the only one thing I want to say, and I don't want to put more pressure on you, but I was kind of hoping to eventually have a copy of Backpack on my bookshelf as well.
Yeah.
So if you can figure out a way to make that work, that would be cool. I'm happy to pay whatever.
Yes.
Just to be able to tell, like, that's the thing my co-host, my friend, built or designed or whatever created. Cool. That would be awesome.
Yes, that would be the in between of what we have now and actually kickstarting it. Is just it's
collector's edition, something like
collector's
that.
edition,
handcrafted.
Yes,
every single piece is hand milled.
Yeah, true.
As a gift.
Yep.
I'd be willing to pay, so it doesn't even have to be a gift. But anyways, thanks. I guess we should just wrap it. Or is there anything else we want to talk about?
Oh no, thanks. Thank you so much. It was great to catch up. Let's not wait 2 years.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, we would love to have you more on more regularly now that you're working on JobLens, because like this is the this is where the conversation is more fun, is like when you are like in building mode and not in like maintenance mode.
Got it. Yeah. Yes. No, that as I have like notable updates, that would be awesome. That would make a lot of sense. That'd be very, very
cool.
Fun. Cool.
I'm looking forward to that, because I feel like with the three of us on, this is more fun than with just the two of us who've been just doing updates on the same things. Wow. I mean, don't want to downplay like our conversations.
For sure. I mean, multiple voices are always good.
Yes,
absolutely.
Well, for sure.
I guess we'll see you around the interwebs.
You'll pretty much only see me on LinkedIn.
I was about to say, not on Twitter anymore.
No, you're not gonna. I don't think you'll see me much.
We'll link to the book that you mentioned, the album that you mentioned, JobLens, and your LinkedIn in the description.
Yes, perfect. Absolutely cool. All right, you guys, great to catch up.
Yeah, it was fun to have you on.